everyone, and welcome back to Literally My Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Chicago Barbie, and I'm so excited to be doing today's episode. Today's episode is all about the art of reinventing yourself. As someone who has reinvented themselves maybe 100 times, sometimes by choice, sometimes by force, but that's okay. There is a reason that we know pop stars like Zara Larsson or Sabrina Carpenter or Chappell Roan today. And obviously it's because of their talent, undeniable, but also, it's because they've had the time to build their brand, to build their identity, and to reinvent themselves. For example, when you think of pink bangs and hot pink blush, blonde bangs and hot pink blush, you're going to think of Sabrina Carpenter. When you think of like gothish makeup and red curly hair, you're going to think of Chappell Roan. When you think of like Barbie-like figure and this beautiful makeup, like colorful, fun, like makeup, Lisa Frank type vibe, you think of Zara Larsson, because you can identify certain things with that person because that's their brand. And we're going to be talking about how you're going to reinvent yourself in 2026 so that you have something that makes you recognizable, so you can be your own kind of Barbie. But before we get into today's episode, make sure to follow us on all of our social media links, please. Our TikTok and Instagram are in our episode description below. Make sure to follow those two social medias, especially our TikTok, because don't play with me on there. Subscribe to our Substack. I promise you I'm bringing back the daily articles. I miss writing them so much. I feel like Carrie Bradshaw every time I sit down and write in our Substack. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because I have 2 vlogs on there that I have to put up. And submit your questions to our Ask Alex segment for a chance to be featured on a upcoming episode of Literally My Life. So now let's get into it. Now, before we talk about things, I want to let you guys know that I am a credible person to talk about the subject because I've reinvented myself a dozen times. We'll go through a few things, okay? So there was like freshman year Alex, who was like super nerdy for some reason and wore like super baggy jeans and horrible makeup and always had a silk press. And I wasn't really known. I didn't really do anything around this time in my life. I was a freshman in high school. I was trying to figure out who I was and what I was doing with my life. This is way before Chicago Barbie. And I got no attention from anyone because my look wasn't recognizable. It wasn't fun, nothing. And I'm not saying that looks are everything, but honey, do they play a big role? And when I looked like just regular schmegular Jane from around the corner, I definitely did not get the attention that I receive now. There was sophomore year Alex, who was a Princess Jasmine cosplayer, and she got a lot of attention. There was sick/hospital era Alex, that was just a really sad thing. There was senior year Alex, who quickly went from like hospital Alex to sports journalist Alex, who wore like a bunch of pantsuits and blazers and slick back buns. It was I look at some of my fashion choices and I'm like, wow, that was questionable. You know what? We'll do a podcast episode of that, like me reacting to some of my old looks and like how I would redo them. Either that might be a podcast episode or a YouTube. Which one should I do? But that would be fun. There was, college Alex. Freshman year, just getting to Boulder, black curly waves, like just Turkish delight everywhere. And journalist Alex, football Alex who like shows up for a game day and does the game day glams. And then there's Chicago Barbie, who is like this big, opinionated, glamorous doll. And then there's just regular Alex from behind the scenes. And I feel like I can incorporate her into every look. Reinvention, as somebody who's reinvented myself all those times, I learned is not always fake. It is growth. It has helped me learn a million times. Like, I've had to reinvent myself a million times to get to what I wanted to be. And that was the Chicago Barbie. And when you look at Chicago Barbie, which is like my brand, like who I am now, I'm recognizable for a few things. Like, I'm always going to have a lot of makeup on. So glam makeup. I used to have completely black hair. So I think I'm kind of known for the black hair, but black hair, layered haircuts, crazy stylish outfits, or at least in my dreams, great purses, just like a real life doll. And I'm not saying that to be conceited. I'm not saying that to be like, oh my God, I'm like the prettiest person ever, because I'm not. This is like, we're talking about this in a brand way. This is not in a conceited way. Do not take this like we are girls in high school, please. Because I know some girls I went to high school with still watch this, and I don't want them to be like, she's so conceited. I'm just saying, it took me, my graduation, that's fine. It'll die. It took me a couple of eras to get to what I wanted to look like, what I wanted to be like, and now I'm recognizable for what I look like and what I be doing. So now we're going to move into our first segment, which I'm going to title Why People Fear Reinvention. Okay, it's called Psychology Identity Attachment. Because people think, like, you think, if I change, am I going to betray who I was? And that's not true. You're honoring who you're becoming, if anything. I remember, like, the jump from freshman to sophomore year for me was such a big deal, and I'm talking about high school, because I transferred schools, right? And I was, like, trying to, I guess, fit in or assimilate into, like, the Whitney Young culture. As you can probably tell from this big board right here, I went to Whitney Young. And I was trying to, fit myself in and kind of dress how the girls at my high school went to, as high schools here, trying to do all that stuff, right? But I remember I felt really insecure about that because I was like, well, is this me? Is this who I'm going to become? Am I going to be the person that wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do makeup and, like, gets my hair done every 2 weeks? Like, am I that shallow? Is that what I think my identity should be based on? Answer is no. But I definitely had to experiment to see what I was comfortable with, because I didn't want to be, like, shallow, and I didn't want to seem like my identity was solely based on my appearance and all those things. But I definitely wanted to experiment with it because I was 15 and I was young and I was dumb and I was fun. So I definitely experimented with hairstyles and haircuts, and oh my god, I got the Rachel cut in the 10th grade and I regret it more than anything, and makeup styles and how I dressed and how I talked and the people I hung out with and all those things. And I never felt like I was betraying myself. I never did, because I was just learning. I was shaping who I'm becoming. Chances are, if you're watching this podcast, you're pretty young. And even if you're not pretty young, even if you're not in your late teens to early 20s, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you can always continue to reinvent yourself. Always. And if you are starting to be like, you know what, I think I need a change, whether that change is about the way you look on the inside or the way you look on the outside or the way you feel on the inside, it is okay to do it. You're not betraying yourself. You're not becoming shallow. If anything, you're becoming fierce. You're honoring your independence, and it's going to be okay. And there are so many examples of this. It's like changing your major, changing cities, changing friend groups, changing your style. All of those things have nothing to do with your identity. At the end of the day, your identity, your core, is who you are. Your identity is how you treat people, how kind you are, the courage you have, how brave you are. It has nothing to do with you changing your haircut or moving from LA to New York. Absolutely not. Although I feel like being a New Yorker, it's kind of a staple. It kind of moves into your identity. Now I want to go into our second segment. Signs it's time to reinvent yourself. Okay, so are you, like, looking in the mirror and you're saying, like, wow, I need to do better with my life. And I'm not just saying, like, oh, I need to start drinking more water or I need to work out more. But I'm saying your old habits feel tight. Your environment starts to feel too small. You're bored. You keep saying this doesn't feel like me anymore. These are all signs that it's time for a makeover. And that is going to be the funnest part of your life. Currently, I'm reinventing myself currently. And it is so much fun. So much fun. One thing that I've been doing to reinvent myself, and I'll give you guys this token of advice, is journaling. I never realized the power of journaling and the power of manifestation until now. Recently, I saw the Michael Jackson movie. I think we talked about this 2 episodes ago, and I was just blown away by the way he spoke life into himself and his manifestations and his journaling, and I was blown away. Genius he was. And I've been starting to speak life over myself in that way and write down my goals and achieve those goals, and wow, has it been amazing. And I kind of am starting to identify, who is this person that I want to become? What are her habits? What does she look like? What does she act like? How does she treat people? When she wakes up in the morning, what is the first thing that she does? those kind of things are things that need to be identified before you start to reinvent yourself. So if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you think that you need a change in your life because you're staying up till 3 a.m., you're feeling groggy, you're partying too much, you're swearing too much, or you're just not happy with the life that you're leading, honey, you don't need to break up with your boyfriend or move across the country, although I'm totally in favor for both of those things. Sometimes it just starts with journaling about the person you want to become, setting some small goals, because you're not going to change overnight. Like, you're literally not going to change overnight. One thing, here's another good example. I've been going running recently. Little life update there. Sucks. Absolutely sucks. But when I first started going running, I would run a mile or maybe like a mile and a half, and I had no stamina to do it. But I showed up every day. I continue to do it. Now I can run 3 miles. Do I still feel like death? Absolutely. But I can run 3 miles. You have to continue to show up for yourself. Consistency is key. So it's time. Is it time for you to step into your Barbie era? I think it is. You also have to ask yourself, what version of yourself are you outgrowing? What in your life are you outgrowing? Are you outgrowing your friend group? Are you outgrowing your relationship? Are you outgrowing your job? Are you outgrowing your city? What are you outgrowing? And sometimes change is like a really good thing. When I moved to college, I was terrified. I didn't want to leave Chicago. I didn't want to leave everyone that I knew and I loved. I didn't want to leave the city that I grew up in. I didn't want to leave my bedroom. I didn't want to leave any of those things. But moving to Colorado allowed me to not only reinvent my space, but to reinvent myself. And both of those things were such a blessing. And I'm so glad I did it. Although, can I say I'm so happy to be home. Okay, let's move into our third segment, reinvention myths. Myth number 1 about reinvention. You need to hit rock bottom. That's so not true. You can reinvent from joy. I'm reinventing myself right now, and I've definitely not hit rock bottom. If anything, I feel like I'm at my peak. So, well, not my peak, but I'm always at my peak, but you know what I mean. You don't have to have a mental breakdown or lose your job or, really hit a crisis to want to reinvent yourself. Absolutely not. You can reinvent yourself out of pure happiness and pure joy. You can reinvent yourself just because you want better for yourself. I hate that society kind of gives us this idea that women have to go through some huge breakup or a divorce or something horrible to reinvent themselves. I mean, look at all these movies like Bad Moms or any rom-com you'll ever watch. A woman goes through this horrible breakup or a divorce. She's always in her mid-30s for some reason, and she decides that the answer to all of her problems is getting a divorce, getting a new wardrobe, and a haircut. Another one, blended. You know what I mean? All those movies. No. You can just look in the mirror and just look at yourself and be like, I love myself. I'm fabulous now. But how much more fabulous would I be if I took myself seriously? How much more fabulous would I be if I reinvented myself into being a health and wellness girly and took my health seriously? Like me. How much more fabulous would I be if I took my relationship with God more seriously? How much more fabulous would I be if I just locked in for 6 months straight? How much more fabulous would my life be? It doesn't have to be out of insecurity. It doesn't have to be out of doubt. It doesn't have to be out of any of those things. It could be out of pure happiness and pure joy. You never need permission or a breakup or rock bottom to reinvent yourself. Ever. Myth number 2. It has to be dramatic. You have to move across the country or any of the stuff that you see in rom-coms, go to Harvard Law School to prove that to your ex-boyfriend that you're not a ditzy bimbo. You don't have to do any of those things, but if you went to Harvard Law for that, that would be really cool. Sometimes it could be small things, like a new haircut or setting new boundaries or a new routine. It doesn't have to be anything big. For me, it's running. Now, I think we all know, especially if you've been watching the podcast for a while, I am not a runner. I run from other things because I'm avoidant, but running in real life, horrible. But I know that it's good for me, and I really want to lock in on my health and my wellness this year, so I'm definitely taking my health and wellness more seriously. I'm going to the gym, and I'm going to the free workout series at Millennium Park, and I'm doing all those things, and although it sucks, because it really does suck, running propaganda, don't fall for it. I shouldn't be, not encouraging guys to exercise, but you guys know what I mean. It's not dramatic. You don't have to, I feel like a real change in myself. I feel more consistent. I feel more disciplined. And I didn't have to move across the country to find that. I didn't have to break up with someone to find that. I didn't have to get a whole new wardrobe to find that. I just found it within a small little routine. I also have blonde highlights. You know, I feel different because I have blonde highlights, but I didn't have to shave like get a buzz cut to find that. I didn't have to get a tattoo to find that. It doesn't have to be incredibly dramatic. So please stop listening to rom-coms. Myth number 3, people will just automatically support it. See, that's not always true. They actually often won't support your reinvention because your change challenges them. I've been learning something recently. You can either be the follower or the leader in life. I'm not even kidding. I've actually been thinking about this. You can be the person that sets the example like, you know what? I'm going to take my life more seriously. I'm going to start going to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to start getting 11 hours of sleep at night. I'm going to start waking up in the morning and working out. I'm going to start going to church every Sunday. I'm going to start taking my life seriously and lock in and let my friends see me lock in and be like, wow, she's inspiring, or wow, she's an idiot, and let them choose their choice. Or I can be the person that sees my friends who go clubbing, my friends who flunk their classes, my friends who drink every day, and follow them. Are you going to be a follower, or are you going to be a leader? Okay? When you decide to be a leader, people are automatically going to be threatened. 100%. I mean, did you even go to high school? When you're a natural born leader, people are always going to be jealous of you. People always are going to make it some kind of competition. It's just kind of the thing about being a woman. That's like, it's just natural. It's going to happen. The thing about it is you can't let that get to you. I mean, if you are going to let people's opinions base how you live your life, you're never going to be happy. Change yourself and don't give an absolute flying what anyone thinks about you. Okay, now let's talk about what I call the reinvention toolkit. This is going to be fun. So if you feel like you resonated with segment 2, you're like, okay, I do feel these ways, I do want to reinvent myself, well, this is how you're going to do it, okay? First thing you're going to do, audit your life. Decide what stays and what goes. It's kind of like when you're cleaning out your closet, right? And you're like, this is the keep pile, this is the donate pile. What stays in your life? What goes? So, what stays in your life? What friends? What music are you going to keep listening to? How much time are you going to watch television during the day? What stays? So, here are some examples of things that can stay and go. For example, things that can go. Day drinking, sleeping in, eating greasy food, eating past 8 p.m., all those things. Some things that I would recommend keeping. Getting dolled up every day. Praying in the morning, like first when you wake up. And then you can add some new things in to stay. Like when you first wake up in the morning, don't touch your phone. It messes with your brain. There's like a whole study about that, how it messes with your dopamine and all kinds of stuff. Just leave your phone alone for the first hour or two during the day. Add some new habits into your life. Second thing, change your language. How are you speaking to yourself? A lot of people don't even understand. A lot of how we treat ourselves and the decisions we make is how we speak to ourselves. It's based on how we speak to ourselves. The Bible literally says the power of life and death is within the tongue, and that is so true. We have to learn to speak life over ourselves, okay, and have a growth mindset. If you make a mistake, that is fine. Everyone makes mistakes. There is no perfect person ever except for Jesus Christ himself, and that was the Lord and Savior. Besides him, there's no exception. Everyone makes mistakes. And so instead of beating yourself up over it and being like, oh my God, I'm so stupid, you're going to start actually thinking that to yourself, like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Instead of just saying, you know what? I made a mistake. That is okay. Now I know what to do next time. That gives you a growth mindset. Change how you speak to yourself and change how the people around you speak to yourself. If you notice your friends are beating up on you for mistakes you made in the past or mistakes you're making currently, maybe they aren't your friends. Live like the person you want to become. What does she look like? What does she dress like? What are her habits? What are her hobbies? What does she do for a living? Start living like her. Now, your absolute dream girl, I would literally write down what she looks like, what she acts like, what her morning routine would be like, all of these things, and then just start living it. Like if you're like, she wakes up at 6 a.m., she goes to Pilates, she showers, she puts on like the best outfit and she blows out her hair every morning and she eats a healthy breakfast, start living that reality. It's not that hard. Last thing I would suggest, practice before you feel ready. The only thing I super agree with from Euphoria is that 90% of confidence is fake, but no one knows if you're faking it. Now, let's talk about some great examples of reinvention. Now, I listed myself, but There's some really great ones. I would say Taylor Swift is a really great one. I mean, look at the Eras Tour. Sabrina Carpenter transforming from a Disney star into a pop music sensation, all by finding her personal image and her personal brand. Chaperone kind of going from a celebrity friend and like an opener of Olivia Rodrigo to a best-selling music artist, finding her aesthetic, finding her niche audience, and writing lyrics catered to them. Tyra Banks moving from a supermodel to a talk show host and a media mogul. So many people know Tyra Banks outside of the modeling world. She doesn't stay in one box, like maybe like Kimora Lee Simmons, who even found her own lane in reality television. Martha Stewart, who's the comeback queen. She went from jail to a show with Snoop Dogg. Find someone more iconic. Kim Kardashian, who went from celebrity stylist to socialite to reality television star to Kanye West's wife. She's really reinvented herself a million times. But you have to constantly reinvent yourself to figure out who you are and what you want in your life. And that's going to change. That's the thing that I've been missing. You're never going to stay the same. You're never going to stay the same person, okay? Your wants and your needs are always going to change. That's always going to change as long as you're alive. So it's best to continue to reinvent yourself to fit those wants and needs because you're never going to stay the same. And when you're reinventing yourself, not only should you look at other people like these celebrity socialites or people in your personal life who have reinvented themselves and continue to stay on top of their game, but you should do it to adjust and adapt to those wants and needs that are ever changing. Now we have some Ask Alex questions that I'm going to answer for you guys. First question, how do I reinvent myself without feeling fake? I love that I post these topics now. You know what? 90% of confidence, like I said, is faking it. You don't have to be true to it. You can be new to it. And as long as you act true to it, who's going to tell you, who's going to check you about it? You can reinvent yourself constantly. And if anyone says anything about it, then it's truly really sad that they're that focused on your life and focus on what you're doing instead of what they're doing. Continue to reinvent yourself. Be authentic to yourself. You don't have to try anyone else's routine. Find something that works for you and continue to try until you find something that works for you. What if people don't take the new me seriously? If people don't take the new you seriously, then that's fine. As long as you take you seriously. Like I said, if you spend your entire life trying to fit other people's perceptions of you, you will never be happy. Be happy with your perception of you, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Hi, Alex. Love the podcast. Can I reinvent myself after a breakup? And if so, how would you suggest I do it? I would say you definitely can, but breaking up is not necessarily a reason for reinvention. I would say like a big reason for reinvention is like, I want to change something about myself in my life. Just because a situation or a relationship ended in my life doesn't mean that I have to change. A better reason to reinvent yourself would be like, I hated how I put my guard down or how I like had no boundaries in this relationship. So I'd rather reinvent myself to create boundaries in the future so that this doesn't happen again. So make sure you're coming for the right reason. But if you do have the pure intentions, if you do think that's like a good reason to reinvent yourself and that's what you do want to do, you want to work on like some of the issues that you had in the relationship versus like just a relationship ending, I would say start with minor things. It doesn't have to be appearance-based. It can just be like shadow work and journaling and changing your morning routine, your nighttime routine, the people you hang around, and then gradually let that grow within your life. And to bigger things, like maybe a new haircut. I don't know. How do I know if I'm changing for validation or me? You will know if you're changing for validation or for you if someone criticizes what you've done to reinvent yourself and you really don't give a shit. Biggest glow up tip. Personality-wise, being kind to people and giving back because you don't know how blessed you are until you don't have it anymore. Appearance-based, hair extensions, tans, fake ones, always. Sitting in the sun is horrible for you. And heavy bronzer and super light concealer. What's your current reinvention? I'm reinventing, I guess, how I approach my life, how I look at things, and how seriously I take things, because I can be super type B about things. Last question. What's one small way to start over? I would definitely say resetting your morning routine. Your morning routine kind of sets the precedent for your entire day, the precedent for the entire day. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is pray, I make my bed, I clean up my space, I read my Bible, and I journal, and it just sets such a positive tone for my entire day. And I just feel like being productive because I woke up in a productive way versus like scrolling on my phone. Get what I mean? I hope that helps. Now, guys, I want to say thank you so much for listening to this episode. What a fun episode to do. We definitely need to do something like this in the future. I hope that you guys know that 90% of confidence is fake, that reinventing yourself for you is always going to be a good idea because you have wants and needs that are constantly changing, and don't let anyone tell you about yourself. Okay? That's it. And people, another thing, I just remembered this from like somebody's Oscar speech, I can't remember. People don't have to like you, people don't have to respect you, but when you look in the mirror, you better love what you see. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you for tuning in for yet another episode of Literally My Life. I will see you guys next week. Make sure to follow all of our links in the episode description below. Just stay tuned for all things Chicago Barbie. And I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week. And always give me episode ideas because I'm running out. We've been doing this podcast for almost 3 years now, and I want to stay refreshed. I want to stay rejuvenated, and I want to give you guys my 110%. I love you guys. See you guys next week. Mwah.